You're with the Newsmakers as we discuss the Salvation Army's State of the Nation report. We are with Glenis Cross, Pam Sharpe and MP Nicky Wagner. The prison population has been zeroed in on in this report, and we've broken through the 8,000 mark when it comes to our prison muster. This is a first for New Zealand. Is this something to be proud of?
Absolutely not. But there is one good thing about it. It doesn't indicate that there's been an increased amount of crime. What it indicates is lengthier sentences, particularly for violent criminals.
The overwhelming majority of the public would back that, wouldn't they, Glenis?
Yes, they would.
Are they wrong to?
Well, it has its consequences. We're almost spending over $1 billion to keep people in prison each year. And that money is spent there where it could be spent helping those who are really struggling. And we're also finding that reoffending is not, it's increasing as well.
But doesn't that suggest the rehabilitation programs that have been trialled and rolled out around the country generally are not particularly effective?
Well, I think two of the main problems would be alcohol and drugs. Yep. And I think there should be more in-prison treatment for that. And the other one is literacy, where they can't read. And that's, if you can't read, you're on the back foot right from the start. And if we had more of those programs in prison and helping people to be able to get their skills up so that they can cope better when they come out, it would be a lot better. In Christchurch, we are running a program where we are working with the worst reoffending people, and we are housing them and walking alongside them as they integrate back into society. We have social workers who spend a lot of time with them, and we are having very good results with that, but it's almost one-on-one.
Right. You see, there was a story in the press, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, citing, I think, $14 million that is spent on alcohol and drug treatment services in Canterbury. And the CDHB claimed that the failure rate in the residential services is 90%. What confidence should that give us in rehabilitation?
Well, maybe we need to look back at the causes of why these people are going to prison. And in fact, if you go right back to your early childhood stuff, the studies done in the Dunedin study, they say that if we muck up on our first 3 years, then we're setting people on a path, to prison. So maybe if we're really brave, we could look back and start right at the very beginning. And there are programs at the moment. The Methodist Mission actually run a program, a family wraparound program. There's the Family Help Trust and Early Start. And I think if we were to say, well, let's try and go right back to the cause of this. It's when you're trying to rehabilitate and teach literacy when people are in prison, that should be taught in their first 3 years of life, and part of that. So maybe we have to redesign things completely.
Although surely it has to be attacked on both fronts, the long-term vision
exactly.
and dealing with the here and now, hard-boiled eggs who will never reform.
Well, there's one thing that's interesting is that as time goes on and people get older, they rehabilitate much more easily, which is interesting. So it's the young people who often have the trouble with consequence, and as they get older, they tend to say, oh, I've had enough of this. But it is an incredibly difficult problem, and I agree with the literacy and numeracy, and hate of bringing up another subject, that's exactly why we want to bring in national standards. Because one in 5 children who can't read and write when they leave school, they've got no opportunity. And they end up in prison. So that's really one of those things. And the early intervention is really about the only thing that we can feel that we can actually start.
I've got 2 minutes left on the clock. Just a very quick question. I note that the faith-based unit at Remataka shows very, very good results. Do you think that kind of program should be broadened across the country?
Well, we believe that with extra help from God, you can change. And we like to give people that option, that there is hope, and there is a way that you don't have to go alone.
GST, should it go to 15%?
No, I'd say no. Or if it has to, then I would like to see essential food items left at the 12.5 or no GST actually on essential food items, because once again it'll be the poor people that are people on benefits and very low incomes who will suffer from an increase in GST.
What guarantee can you give those people that they're not going to be slammed if you put up GST?
In terms of beneficiaries, it's quite simple, simply because you just change the benefit to account for it, to allow for it, and it will be CPI indexed, and so that will cover it.
So will they get a rise in
They'll
benefit?
get a rise in benefit, and it will also be okay for superannuitants, because they will automatically get a rise because their percentage is worked out on take-home pay. So if there's a tax cut, they'll get a rise, plus they get CPI index, so it actually helps superannuitants. So it's easy to look after those people. The problem is looking after the low-income earners, and we need to find a good method to do that.
Okay.
I don't believe in GST by itself,
Yep.
but as a package, I think it could be a good thing for the country.
I'll tell you what, we'll have you good people back after the budget, and we'll see what
Good idea.
Mr English has delivered. Thank you very much to our panel, Pam Sharpe, Nicky Wagner and Glenis Cross. By the way, if you want to check out the Salvation Army's report, go to salvationarmy.org.nz. The full report is there. Thanks for your company. Good night.